Welcome to another fun-filled edition of Second City Sports Zoom Style.
Zoom style.
Along with Lakina McGee and Jason Pfeiffer, I am Sydney Brown. You can follow yours truly on Twitter and the Insta at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. And you can follow this show, which is part of the War Media Network, at War on Anchor, which kicks you over to Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and everywhere else you download your podcast. Make sure you download War on Anchor. We also on iHeartRadio. Please download the iHeartRadio app and then type in War on Anchor on the search engine box. You'll access our programming there. And we're also on YouTube. That's War Media. That's WARR Media. And you can watch this podcast via visual. Voila, there's our beautiful, lovely faces.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the Instagram.
And you can follow me at Truth and Reason _ on the Twitter. And you can also follow the show's Twitter handle at 2NDCSCHI.
Let's start off this segment with the NFL Overreaction Monday Power Hour. Of course, we'll start local. The Chicago Bears dropped their first game of the season to the Indianapolis Colts at Soldier Field by the score of 19-11. I'm going to go ahead and start this off. I'm going to try to be professional as possible. What the hell was that? Seriously, the offense was not there yesterday. The running game was non-existent. Nick Foles looked like a high school quarterback at best. Indianapolis didn't really play all that great. Phillip Rivers was to be had. He had 2 turnovers that were supposed to be his, but it was overturned by dropped interception, which we'll get to in a minute, and another possible turnover, which was overturned by replay. Jonathan Taylor ran the ball well for the Colts. Phillip Rivers didn't perform that great, but he made the key throws where they had to. The Indianapolis Colts defense stepped up thanks to the lack of productivity from the offensive side. If I'm a Bears fan, I've been saying this for the last 3 weeks, the Bears should be 0-3. They should be 0-4 today. I do not blame this game on the defense. I'm blaming our head coach, Matt Nagy, and whoever is the offensive coordinator for Chicago. That was terrible yesterday. Who do you blame for this Bears loss? Lakita, I'll start with you.
I think the game plan, I think, was off from the word go. It seems like Foles was overthrowing guys. He had balls that were throwing up on top of the Anthony Miller's head, and then Allen Robinson went to his left, and then the ball actually went right, and it was just bad game planning from the word go. Like I said, listen, the Colts have one of the top defenses in the league for a reason. I know Darius Leonard got banged up, early in the second half, so he didn't play. But look, Xavier Rhodes, did his thing with Robinson and Miller. DeForest Buckner made some key tackles, and they kept the offense off. They kept the Bears' offense off the field for the most part. I mean, the defense, they only gave up 19 points, but the fact that the Colts were even in scoring position, there were opportunities to be had that didn't, pan out. And Phillip Rivers kind of gave you a couple of chances to catch a couple of turnovers of his, but the second one, we can all debate on that, whether or not that was really an interception. We'll never know. But like I said before, I mean, I'm going to channel Denny, the late great Denny Green here. The Bears are who you thought they were, and their first 3 opponents kind of let them off the hook. The Colts said, no, you're not. No, we're not letting you off the hook. So there's plenty of blame to go around.
Yeah, I definitely say plenty of blame to go around, Lakina and Sydney. Listen, the Colts, for those who don't know, are a top team in the AFC, not just the division. That defense is going to make a lot of teams look really, really bad. They've got Pro Bowlers at every level of their defense, on the defensive line and their linebackers, and definitely in their secondary, which is probably tops in the league overall, I think, especially in this early season. People don't score on them. People haven't been scoring on them this entire season. There's a reason why they're 3-1 and one of the best teams in the AFC right now. People need to start paying attention to that. But speaking of defenses, the Bears defense didn't look good either. They only gave up 19 points, but the Colts were steadily in their own territory, in the Bears territory. They were getting gashed early and often. They got gashed on that first opening drive, like the Bears always do, get gashed on opening drives. I don't understand it. It's like they literally don't want to execute the game plan at all, or they're still like sleepy and got crust in their eyes or something. They're just not paying attention, and opponents walk all over them in the first half and then in the first possessions, really. So defense only gave up 19, but didn't look good. The offense certainly didn't look good. I wasn't surprised by Nick Foles' performance necessarily. Great, obviously not. But he still made some. There were noticeable differences, even though the Bears' offense didn't look well yesterday. There were still some noticeable differences pushing the ball, at least attempting to push the ball down the field. It's still something you never saw with Mitch Trubisky. Now, the run game, obviously, there needs to be something more creative going on there. It seemed out of sync. The offensive line just couldn't block anybody again. I give a lot of credit to the Indianapolis Colts for that. They have a really good defensive line. They're going to plug a lot of holes there throughout the season. But there's blame to go around. Offense, defense, special teams gave up a punt block. It's not looking good in all three phases of the game.
I just want to piggyback off your point, Jason, by saying this overall. What's so frustrating is the Bears, even though they couldn't get anything going offensively, they were still in the game. You're correct. The defense did not play that great, but they were a bend but do not break defense. Referring to the first half, and I had to watch it before recording this episode today. It was so many third downs that they gave up. It wasn't even funny. It somehow, by some miracle, by the football gods, I don't know, they stayed in the game. Now, since Lamont Scott has joined us, Lamont, who do you blame for the Bears' loss yesterday? Do you blame the defense? Do you blame the offense? Do you blame head coach Matt Nagy, or do you think it's enough blame to go around?
First off, good morning, good people. I would have to blame Coach Matt Nagy. Like, to piggyback off what Jason just said, no creativity on that offense, that running. I mean, some of the runs he even called on the third down plays, on the second down plays, some of the plays that he called just didn't seem like it was supposed to be called at that time. I was like, why did you call that? So that was a slight issue with me. So, I mean, it can go around, but it starts at the top. And I was thinking that halfway through the game, like, Matt Nagy's becoming a slight problem, with some of the calls he's making. I mean, that might be just my opinion, but from my eye view, that's what I kind of see.
I want to go over to the defense. I'll start with you, Lakina. I mentioned this at the top of the show. The two turnovers that should have been turnovers in our last podcast, I said that Phillip Rivers could be had by, because he at least gives you an opportunity with the 1 or 2 interceptions that he throws every game. Of course, Khalil Mack had one off a tip ball at the line of scrimmage, which he dropped. Then, of course, there was the one by Rocross Smith in the end zone, which his left foot was out of bounds, and the replay officials got that call right. Lakina, this just has to be frustrating for a defense that hasn't played up to their standards and our standards all season long. Just by those two potential turnovers that were out of the Bears' hands, how frustrating was it for you as a Bears fan?
Yeah, I mean, this has sort of been the theme the whole season for this defense. I mean, they've given up a lot of points, and they've given up a lot of yards, missed opportunities, lost opportunities. And I think it's just one of those things where, I mean, yeah, the defense is good enough to keep the Bears in games. The Bears are lucky they didn't get the doors blown off of them by this Colts team, because I'm not counting that garbage touchdown those last couple of minutes, because it really doesn't matter. It didn't matter in the end. But look, Bilal Nichols, I mean, he's not Eddie Goldman. He's not. And I think that's another issue. Khalil Mack, I mean, yeah, he had that drop interception, but that's the first time we actually heard his name all game before then. So I think this defense, Robert Quinn, he's been a non-factor. So I just think that this defense has not been what we thought this defense would be this year, and I think it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, and I don't. Listen, let's be honest. It hasn't been like that in 2 years. Let's go back to last season too. I don't want to shed the light entirely on Chuck Pagano, but some of these things have to be glaring, right? Is it a coincidence that his defense is taking a step back under his tenure? I mean, I don't know. The same players are still there from the Big Fangio era, so it's hard to say. I mean, there are not enough impact plays being made. Let's just call it what it is. There's not enough quarterback pressure to make the quarterback make a quick decision, and that's what this Bears defense has been all about. It's been about a pass rush and being opportunistic when it comes to turning the ball over, getting turnovers, and we haven't seen any of that.
Like you said, Jason, you might have to start looking at Mr. Pagano because there's no aggressiveness. And if you look at the few plays where they did get pressure, that was the couple of plays where they had a couple of dropped interceptions that was the only times that they got pressure during that whole game. So, I mean, is it that he's not dialing it up, or is it that they can't do it anymore? I mean, if they can't do it anymore, we need to shuffle some parts around. That defense is what's supposed to lead us. We didn't have a superstar quarterback because we had a superstar defense. So we don't have either, and we up a creek with some really, really, really small oars. And that's not like.
Well, listen. I mean, that's a great point, though, Lamont. Because guess what, folks? I mean, I don't want to. We'll get started in the next week. But listen, it does not get any easier next week with our opponent, which we will get into in a few minutes, I'm sure. So you're right, Lamont. I mean, something has to change. The schedule doesn't get easier.
And you look, they may have that thing that the Bulls went through a couple of years ago where they played down, quote unquote, to their competition. Now, if they got Brady coming and they see Brady as an option, they might break back. They might play up to their competition. So maybe they ain't took these 3 teams or 4 teams as serious as they should have. Maybe they've been saving it for the Brady game. We're going to find out Thursday night, though.
You're listening to Second City Sports along with Lakina McGee, Jason Pfeiffer, and Lamont Scott. I am Sidney Browns. We review the Bears' first loss of the season to the Indianapolis Colts, 19-11 at Soldier Field on Sunday. Guys, I want to stay with that Bears defense. They had 8 penalties for over 100 yards. You're not going to win many games in this league with that many penalty yards. Of course, the Bears defensive backs, of course, Eddie Jackson and Kyle Fuller, they had a couple of pass interference calls in yesterday's game. I know that the Bears DBs like to take chances, but in today's NFL, with all the rules going towards the offensive players, they have to be much smarter. It's just so frustrating to see so many flags that were thrown yesterday. It's been a problem all year, but it really came to a head yesterday.
Yeah, and sorry to jump in, but a point that needs to be made about that, Sidney, I'm glad you brought it up, is that it keeps drives alive too. That was another part of why the defense didn't look good. Again, they only gave up 19 points, but they didn't pass a whole lot of eye tests. They weren't very disciplined. Although, look, I don't. A couple of those PI calls, they were questionable at best. I thought, Kyle Fuller, I think on that first or second one, that ended up keeping a drive alive, I think ended up leading to Indianapolis points. I think that PI on Kyle Fuller was absolutely atrocious. He's making a play on the ball at the same time, but as a receiver. But, whatever. Neither here nor there, right? The call was made, it was made. But again, that's part of the point, is that it keeps the opposing offense on the field and in critical situations. I think that might have been a third down PI too. So, I mean, you can't have this type of stuff happen if you expect to win games. And they haven't, like you said, Sidney, they haven't really been disciplined all season. So, to me, that shines another light on Chuck Pagano. The Bears defense has to get it in gear really quickly.
I think that the undisciplinedness of this defense has been sort of an aptitude. That's been their problem this whole season. They've given up a lot of big plays. They've given up a lot of penalties. Some of them you can probably say were bogus, but, hey, it is what it is. But I think if you can't afford to have those types of penalties and give offenses like Indy and Tampa, we'll talk about that, like Lamont said, we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes, but you can't afford to give these offenses opportunities. You just can't. So I think that's been the big problem for this team the whole season.
Yeah, I mean, They don't seem aggressive. At least we heard Khalil Mack name Sunday, which seems like the first time we ever heard his name all year. We haven't been hearing his name at all this year. So, like I say, maybe it's a waiting on Tampa Bay to see where you at as a measuring stick type situation. But something got to give. I mean, it really does. Or Hallis Hall might be having everybody head roll, from the head coach to the defensive coach to the quarterbacks. Both of them, if Nick Foles continue to be the Nick Foles that he can be. So I don't know. It could get ugly up there.
I don't think it has nothing to do with playing down to the competition, because the Bears haven't, quote unquote, earned their right to do that maybe 2 years ago, but definitely not now. I just think it was a bad day yesterday. And I agree with you guys, as you brought this up, Lamont, that I blame head coach Matt Nagy. That was a bad offensive game plan. They didn't run the ball with consistency. I know it's easy to beat up on David Montgomery and the offensive line to a lesser extent, but I really don't blame those two entities. I blame head coach Matt Nagy, whoever's the offensive coordinator. You have to set the tone. In Indianapolis, which was playing a zone the majority of their game, they was just waiting for Nick Foles to throw the ball. When that happens, you know turnovers are bound to happen.
Let me jump in right quick with a quick question for you, Sid. Now, Nagy's supposed to be this offensive genius. Was it him really calling them plays in Kansas City, or was it Eric Bieniemy then and Matt Nagy was next to him, and that's why Kansas City has continued to grow and evolve, and we get Matt Nagy?
That is a very good question. That was a very good question. First of all, Eric Bieniemy should be an NFL head coach. We'll get into that another time. But I think at times it was Matt Nagy. But, Andy Reid has such a strong personality, has a strong hold on his coaching staff. I'm sure he didn't let him go out too far. And so that is a very interesting question. Like you said, Eric Bieniemy learned on both of them. Look what he's doing now, obviously with better talent. Yes, Matt Nagy was there at the same time when that group was starting to grow. But that is a very good question.
So there have been a few observations that I've made on and off throughout the show, and this is going back the past 2 seasons now, actually. And we just mentioned it earlier in the show. But where's the creativity? Where is the misdirection? Where is the up tempo? I mean, do I have to call Hallis Hall and threaten personal lives for the Bears offense to go up tempo once in a while? I mean,
I'll go with you.
Can we do that? Defenses are sitting on what the Bears are doing. How do you counter that? Pace. You speed the game up. You misdirect. You use a little bit of trickery sometimes if you have to. These are I'm not engaging in hyperbole, guys. Although the Bears' offense wasn't great 2 years ago, you saw a lot of that 2 years ago. That's why Mitch Trubisky had a lot of success that he did 2 years ago. There were RPOs being ran. There were run-pass options. There were, creative screens being called. There were misdirection plays. There were reverses. There was up-tempo. You saw fast break 2-minute drills being ran last year. We have not seen any of this in the past 2 seasons. I mean, I'm not lying about that. So again, we have to start looking at Matt Nagy when it comes to his offensive game plans, because I just said it. Opposing defenses are literally sitting back, like you said, Sydney, like you said, Lamont. They're sitting back on what the Bears are doing. It's like they become monotonous and one-dimensional, even though you've got playmakers in the backfield and in the wideouts. It's starting to get really frustrating to watch.
Yeah. You wonder though that maybe our team sort of catching up to that offense of the Bears, because they used that type of similar thing with Mark Trestman was there, and they had success for maybe a season and a half, but everyone started catching up to it. I think this is the same case here with Coach Nagy. I think that defenses are starting to catch up to what the Bears are doing, and they're on to what the Bears have been doing. So yeah, you can say they could pick up the pace, they could be more creative, but the problem is that defenses are starting to figure out what they're using. So I can see both sides of it, but I just think that it's more defenses are starting to figure out what the Bears are trying to pull.
But Lakina, and I know you listened to the broadcast yesterday. It was kind of almost like Tony Romo was begging them to do that. He mentioned that more than once. And increase the pace, go faster. I mean, if the announcers are saying it, I mean, we're seeing it as well. Like where's the adjustments being made? It's frustrating.
Oh yeah. Rich Gannon went off.
Yeah, I said Tony Romo. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But
Yeah.
Steven still, he went off. I mean, he said, "Look, what are y'all doing?" He didn't say that, but he basically said, "Look, what are you guys doing? Where's the urgency? Where's pick up the pace?" I mean, yeah.
I mean, and Rich Gannon was an MVP. It's
Yeah. But see, here's the thing. I do not want to overreact, but some of the play calling that I saw, especially in that first half, there's just so many screen plays. If you remember back in 1999, Dick Duran's first year, he had an offensive coordinator named Gary Croton.
Yep.
He came from BYU, and he did so many screen passes it wasn't even funny. But halfway through the year, the league caught up to it.
Sure.
It's like, you're not reinventing the wheel here. And for all this creativity to work, you have to run the ball. And
right.
Something I know we brought Matt Nagy here to fix the offense passing wise, but you got to establish some sort of running game. I know with some teams they establish the pass and then set up the run to set up the run. But for the Bears, the passing game is not working right now. You have to establish the run. And your offensive line has been pretty okay this year. So, like I said, I don't blame David Montgomery personally because the play calling was they ran away from the run game, and so they tried to establish the pass, and the play calls did not work yesterday. So, once again, for all this stuff to work, you had to establish some type of running game, and that didn't happen yesterday.
And Cordero Patterson is not a running back. Let's be honest here. Cordero Patterson is not a running back. I think they need to stop trying to do that. He went backwards like three or four times. He had the ball. He went backwards. So
every time they try, he go backwards. Every time they try, he go backwards.
He might as well have had Cohen out there. I know he's hurt, but
and that's you made another great point, Sydney. And when I say up tempo and creative, I don't mean just with the passing game as well. You've got to be able to run the ball. I'm not just talking about the passing game. When it comes to that. So that's a great point. And you've got to put David Montgomery in positions to be successful. It goes back to the play calling, though. He's running right into the interior of the defensive line. I mean, it's like they weren't watching the tape. It's almost like they haven't seen tape on Indianapolis. I don't know, with it being such a different season, how these practices and meetings are going, but it's almost like they're not watching the opposing defenses from the previous games.
Well, I think too. Like it goes back to that time, man. Yeah, we brung Matt Nagy in to pass the ball. Does he have any good running plays? Maybe that's it. That's why maybe he's limited in the run situation. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he came in as this passing guy for a reason. Maybe when he was at KC, he took care of a lot of the passing things and not a lot of those running plays, which would fall on Airbnb because he was a running back. So you look at it like maybe he don't got a lot of running plays and, book of tricks. And he needs to just work a little something, mix something together or a little bit from here.
All right, so let's talk about the Thursday night game coming up a little bit before we go to our studs and duds. I know O.J. Howard, it looks like he's going to be out for the year with a torn Achilles, so that's a big loss for the Bucs defense. I know Tom Brady threw that pick 6 against the Chargers, but he came right back like 4 or 5 touchdowns after that. So I think we can't be too, not write his career obituary just yet. But where do you guys see this game?
I see us getting an interception. I think Bears may get a pick 6. I mean, I think that Tom Brady gonna take a lot of chances against the Bears, and they're gonna have a lot of opportunities to shine and show up. So I'm just hoping that they do. But it's gonna get interesting Thursday if the defense sleepwalking. I can tell you that. We'll know early.
I'll say this about the Bears. They may have caught a break, as Lakina mentioned, that O.J. Howard, who scored the go-ahead touchdown in yesterday's game over the Chargers, he may be out for the year. Mike Evans got injured yesterday too. As of this broadcast, we don't know his status. He may not travel here to Chicago on Thursday. Chris Godwin, the other star wide receiver, is out. Who knows? He may play on Thursday. I doubt it, but we'll see. The Bears may have caught a break, but at the same time, they had to go out and take care of their business. I'll keep saying this again. They need to pound the rock and run the ball. You saw the Chargers. They did that to an extent yesterday, even though their defensive players were out. They jumped on the Bucs early and they established a tempo. The Bears need to watch the tape. Hopefully they're doing it right now from the Chargers game yesterday, minus the fourth quarter. This is how you beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like you mentioned, Lamont, Brady, as I said last week about Phillip Rivers, he can be had with a couple of turnovers. Here's the thing. The Bears had to take advantage of scoring points off. First of all, get the turnovers and score points off the turnovers. I'm talking about touchdowns, not just field goals.
Definitely. And along with that, we need just a little bit of that offense to show up Thursday. I mean, give us 21. We may can beat them if we playing defense. But it remains to be seen. This will be a litmus test. We will know a lot more than we know this Monday, next Monday than we know this Monday. I can tell you that, because if it is some glaring holes, they're going to open all of them up. If it is some wounds, they're going to be showing after Thursday night.
Well, listen, guys. You guys are giving the Bears way too much credit here.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason.
They're going to get blown out. I don't care who wide receivers are going to be. I think Mike Evans is going to play. We'll have to see. I mean, I know he did get hurt. Godwin is probably still out. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to start Roland Jones, by the way, for my fantasy lineup against the Bears defense. I'm going to start him because they're going to get blown out. You understand me? This is going to be a bad game. It's going to be a bad game. Okay? I would say that the offense will probably look better because, again, I'm not putting a whole lot on Nick Foles yesterday. He missed some throws, sure. He missed some throws. No doubt about it. But I think he overall played well. Again, I don't think we're giving in the Indianapolis Colts defense enough credit. They are really, really, really good. But they're going to get blown out. This is probably going to be a 3-touchdown deficit.
What you say? Indianapolis #1 for a reason, huh?
Well, they are. I mean, they were. I think at this point they're #1 in all major categories defensive wise. I think.
Yeah, they was.
Yeah.
They played like it yesterday.
I've been trying to tell people about the Indy defense, and look, that Bucs defense. Yeah, they're a little older, but they still get it done. I mean, Sue had some forcible turnovers. You know, you still got Vita Vila out there who's still formidable. Shaq Barrett is still very formidable. Antoine Whitfield Jr. looks like he's going to play. You know, he didn't get a chance to play yesterday. Looks like he's going to be a go for Thursday. Still, you know, Jason Pierre-Paul. So that's still a pretty good defense for the Bucs. And I know it's been a few years. I think Bruce Arians is still upset that he didn't get the Bears job. I know it's been about 5 or 6 years now, but I'm sure he's still pissed about that. So.
Yeah, he should have got it.
I don't think he's going to tell his guys, you know, look, take it out. Listen, these guys wouldn't give me the job. I'm here now because of them. Take it out on them. So I get a picture of him saying that. So, I'm sure the Bears will keep it close, but I think the Bears will lose late. And I think if they play a complete game, they could keep it close. But I would be surprised if like Jason said, it ends up being a blowout.
Yeah, blowout wouldn't surprise you at all.
That's what I was getting ready to say at the top of the show. The Bears are not ready as of yesterday. They're not ready for prime time yet. I went to Lamont Thursday. Is going to reveal a whole lot about this Bears team. It's all about mental for the Chicago team. They got Tom Brady in their backyard on Thursday. They need to come out and play. Tampa is starting to get it on the roll here after that opening day loss at New Orleans. So this is put up or shut up time for the Bears because the schedule doesn't get any easier. Of course, they got the Carolina Panthers, who we'll talk about in a minute. And then they go to L.A. for Monday night against the Rams. We'll talk about them in a minute. I watched that game closely yesterday. So the schedule does not get any easier.
All right, let's get to our studs and duds for week 4. Who wants to start?
I'll start. Number 59, Jordan Glasgow for the Indianapolis Colts. He blocked the punt. Number 59, he blocked the punt from Pat O'Donnell of the Bears, which set the tempo for that game for the Indianapolis Colts, which led to that first touchdown by Mo Alley Cox. Number 2, I'm going with you, Lamont. You've been saying this week too. Russell Wilson, he gets a game ball for me. He had a couple more touchdowns yesterday. I know Miami sort of kept it close toward the end, but Seattle, as I've been telling people for the last 3 years, they are a great team coming from the West Coast, going to the East Coast for an early start. They showed it again yesterday. And number 3, these 3 entities will share one game ball. First, Odell Beckham Jr. scoring 3 touchdowns. Number 2, Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. And number 3, whoever's the Browns offensive coordinator. Here's why. When Dallas made the game close at 41-38 towards the end of the fourth quarter, Cleveland's first play after that was an end-around play for Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. stayed inbounds. The Dallas defense just stood there frozen in time. Instead of Odell Beckham Jr. just taking the knee, he sprinted down the sidelines and put the game out of reach. So I'll give the whole Cleveland offensive unit a game ball.
Okay. I'll go next. Listen, I think this team, we like to talk about this team a lot and kind of make fun of them, but I think this team is trending on the way up. Got to give a big congratulations and a big game ball to the Cincinnati Bengals. I know they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, folks. I get it. I understand. But Joe Burrow, listen, he's a rookie. He's going to make some mistakes. He threw a pick yesterday, but he continues to look like a franchise quarterback. It's amazing when you can actually just look at a quarterback in a game and you can tell immediately that guy is a franchise quarterback. I wonder why we can't get this right in Chicago, folks. Because you again, we're not professional scouts here, but you can look at Joe Burrow and in 2 minutes can tell that guy's an NFL quarterback. They're going to be fine in Cincinnati. I think they're going to be okay. But more specifically to Joe Mixon, this guy has been much maligned throughout his career as well, but he racked up 150 yards. He hasn't really been healthy a whole lot. 3 total touchdowns. Whoever had him in fantasy, I hope they started him because that was a big day for him and the Cincinnati Bengals. So they're going to get some of my studs.
All right. As far as studs go, piggybacking off what Sid said, the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns did their thing, and they showed that they do have some creativity. They do have a lot of talent.
Are you watching Chicago Bears?
It's sorry that Chubb got injured. He's going to be out a minute. So
yeah, sucks for me.
Yeah, that's going to hurt.
Sorry, Jason.
That's going to hurt him. And another stud would be, like Jason said, Joe Burrow, man, Cincinnati. Once you get him an offensive line and another wide receiver, Joe Burrow going to have something to say. And a little bonus stud, I'm liking Justin Herbert. Didn't surprise me. I didn't think he had all that in him, but he's showing that he do belong also. So we're going to see.
My turn. Of course, Russell Wilson, that's my first for all the reasons that's been said. He had an interception, but look, I think he still keeps, showing you that he should be the front runner for MVP right now. 2 touchdowns, 360 yards passing. Also, Chris Carson, he got 2 of those, 2 touchdowns. So sort of very, very business-like. Also, Baltimore, another stud for me. Very business-like. Lamar Jackson had 2 touchdowns. They, had 2 touchdowns passing, a rushing touchdown too. Very businessman-like performance against Washington. Like I said, they were going to have a bounce. We said they were going to have a bounce-back game, and they did. Minnesota, they got their first win of the season. Dalvin Cook, 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Maybe they should give him the ball even more now.
Yes, please do, for fantasy purposes, please do.
Yeah. So, right. That figures. So, yeah. So I think Minnesota gets their first win of the season. Maybe they can right the ship. They're 1-3, but listen, they're still early enough. They have Seattle on Sunday night. That's going to be a tough one, but they go at it. That's going to be a tough one, but we'll see what they do there. Let's see. Roberto Sanchez, I'm going special teams on you guys from the Colts. 3, all the punts he kicked were well inside the 20. There was like only one. I think that was like the first time in like 60 punts that he had that it went in the end zone. but Sanchez was able to keep the Bears deep, and they weren't able to not capitalize, but they were able to advance the ball. So that helps too. So a rarity that I'm getting a punter, my stud, but that's what I'm doing here. And one more, Joe Burrow, like you said, Sid. I mean, put an O-line with him. I think he's gonna do just fine. Didn't have an interception, had one interception, but listen, he's gonna have his growing pains. Also, threw for 300 yards. I think that was you who said that, but all of you guys said that. But yeah, I think those are my studs.
Yeah, I've got a bonus stud, and listen, we're talking about MVP candidates. You got to start mentioning this kid's name, Josh Allen. The Buffalo Bills are undefeated. This guy is racking up the touchdowns and the yards. And guess what, folks? He looks like a franchise quarterback. I mean,
what a novel concept.
It's a radical concept. It's a radical concept.
Yeah.
This organization makes a trade for
quarterback the rest of our lives in Chicago. You got to look. Even our ancestors didn't get a good quarterback in Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's destined not to ever have a good quarterback. I didn't accepted it already. Like, if we get one, it'd probably surprise me more than not getting one. So I've accepted it. Like, it's over. I mean, since we put Bob Avellini in the playoffs in 1977, I've been sick. So that's how long I've been sick. So I don't know about the rest of y'all.
Yeah, I mean, you watch it around the league. It's a radical concept, and his organization makes an outstanding trade to get him a number one wide receiver. And guess what? Their offense takes off completely. I mean, it's just radical concepts we're talking about here, folks. But Josh Allen, I mean, my goodness, he looks really, really good. I've got him in my sort of quote-unquote MVP power rankings right behind Russell Wilson at number 2.
A quick thing before you go on. You know what the Bears front office seemed like they would do? Pull off a magnificent trade and get like a Sam Darnold or something. That looks like the type of move that front office will make. Like that's the kind of move they'll make. They wouldn't move Josh Allen, but they'll move for Sam Darnold or something.
Yeah, don't get me started, man. Don't get me started. I've got theories on why some of the stuff has happened, especially in recent years. But they look like they're about to mess this thing up again with this Allen Robinson situation. We haven't really gotten into this season, but they look like they're about to throw that thing in the tank too. If they don't re-up this man, my head will literally explode. He has been arguably a top 10, at the very least, a top 15 wide receiver in the league since his arrival.
With no quarterback.
He's been their only bright spot in 3 years.
With no quarterback.
With no quarterback, if they do not re-up him, I might boycott my Bear Hood fandom. I might.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Duds. Keeping with that theme here. Duds. What are your duds?
The Tennessee Titans. It looks like they might have broken COVID-19 protocols from the NFL. Of course, they were supposed to play the Steelers on Sunday. That didn't happen. As of this broadcast, 20 people from the Titans organization, 10 players and 10 personnel had tested positive for COVID-19. Their game next week against Buffalo is in jeopardy right now. They won't be allowed into the facilities until Wednesday if nobody else from the organization tests positive for COVID-19. So that's my dud. Number 2 dud for me is the Dallas Cowboys defense. It was atrocious against Cleveland. You cannot have that. And my third dud, this is a bonus dud for me, the Detroit Lions. Yes, I had the Saints winning the game yesterday, but Detroit came out on fire, scoring the first, I believe, 14 to 21 points of the game. And I said, Detroit's going to pull a Detroit. And guess what happened? With no Michael Thomas and none of their star defensive backs for the Saints, Drew Brees did it again. The Saints came back and held on for a 6-point victory at Motown. So the Detroit Lions defense the whole Detroit team gets a dud for me.
And my duds, I'm going to start with Matt Nagy. Because he the leader of that ship in Chicago, and I think he's steering it over smooth waters in a rough way. So he gets my first dud. My second dud, the Dallas Cowboys. Shout out to Miss Jenny Reynolds. Dallas been losing because of fruits. I mean, you know, Dallas is stuck in a fruit world right now, and I think it goes up top to Jerry Jones. You know, they had their watermelon situation, now they got their banana situation. But when you look at America's team in general, they're not playing like they're America's team, and they got a whole lot more talent than we got, and they still look just about as bad as we do. So I expected a lot more from Dallas.
Oh, I think you guys know what I'm going to go with here. So we talked about the Cowboys, and we've talked. Well, we haven't talked about the Jets yet. So we're going to talk about my other favorite team as far as duds go. The Houston Texans, once again.
Oh, Lord.
Is your face like a red card?
At home, mind you, they allowed the Minnesota Vikings to hold the ball almost 40 minutes. I mean, what else do we have to say about this team? Like, what else has to happen before Bill O'Brien gets fired? They're 0-4. They really don't have an offense, even though they did score some points. But that was late. That was a rally that actually made the score 31-23. They weren't really in the game. This man needs to be fired today. So does Matt Patricia. You guys talked about Detroit already. So I'll leave that alone. Mm-hmm. These two gentlemen need to be fired. Their teams look bad, and it's not going to get any better with them at the head coaching position. Houston.
Man. I don't know what I can tell you about Houston, man. I mean, you know, they can't blame it on the quarterback. So what they gonna do?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I'll go. Again, this pains me. Arizona, another dud. I mean, yeah, Patrick Peterson had an interception. Kyler Murray didn't throw any interceptions, but that secondary is a problem. They were able to let Teddy Bridgewater sort of move the chains and kept drives alive. That secondary is becoming a glaring issue for.
Yeah, Patrick Peterson had an interception yesterday. Congrats to him.
Yeah, I mean, but you need more of that.
Yeah.
Especially if we're trying to win a division, that division is still very winnable. It doesn't get any. They have a pretty good schedule. Arizona does, but they need to start playing like it. They get the Jets this week, and in New York. I think they're staying in the East Coast, but hopefully they can beat up on them. But I think if you want a chance to be near the top of the elites, I think you're gonna have to beat teams like Carolina. Hopefully those losses don't come back to bite them in the butt. But Arizona is one of my duds. You guys already covered Detroit. You guys already covered Houston. But another dud, I really can't give this team a dud. I mean, because I wasn't expecting them to win. But I'll say the Bears then, because they didn't have a game plan. Cordero Patterson is not a running back. And I just think that the teams who we thought they were, and I think this, like I've been saying for the last month, and people always looked at me like I was crazy, but that 3-0 is a mirage. Sorry.
Wait, a bonus dud. New York Jets defensive coordinator Greg Williams, and that's the gentleman's name.
Yeah.
Yep.
They down there trying to hurt people, man. That wasn't cool Thursday night. So that's not about him. Yeah, he gets one. That wasn't cool what they was doing. They was teeing off on that little quarterback. It was his first game too, so they was teeing off on him. Then they was talking about they was disrespected for him trying to run out of bounds or something. I don't know about all that, but yeah.
The Jets are a clown show.
Why is he still in the league after everything that happened when he was in New Orleans? Is just beyond me. But
I got a bonus dud. The San Francisco 49ers. I did not watch that game, but I did turn to it towards the end. Of course, who was that starting quarterback? Whoever was that starting quarterback, Nick Mullins.
Yeah.
And then toward the end, they had C.J. Beathard at the quarterback. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then, as you mentioned, Jason, before we came on the show, Yeah, Philadelphia finally decided to wake up in the fourth quarter with that comeback win.
C.J. Beathard looked better than Nick Mullins did. At least he took him down the field a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in spots, actually, C.J. Beathard, I think that was 2 years ago, actually. I think played pretty well for the 49ers in spots. But nobody's mistaken Jimmy Garoppolo for a world beater, but, I mean, he is their starting quarterback. They're going to struggle without him. So they need him back at the helm to at least give them a chance at winning games. But, yeah, they didn't look good. I do want to pat myself on the back a little bit on that win. I thought that was
all right.
but listen, I mean, I just figured, the Niners were sort of trending down. I mean, I think they were sort of ripe for the picking in a bit of an upset, a bit of a letdown, and don't really take too much stock in the Eagles winning. I think they still got their own, myriad issues as well, but kind of had that one on the radar.
All right, we got 2 Monday night games coming up tonight. We know the circumstances for the Patriots Chiefs. Cam Newton tested positive for COVID over the weekend. They had a delay. They had a delay in flying to Kansas City. I think they're just now in Kansas City, and apparently Jarrett Stidham is not going to have any first team reps. And the way the Chiefs have been playing lately, that's not good.
Brian Hoyer gonna come out and destroy Patrick Mahomes on Monday Night Football.
You really believe that statement, Lamont?
Huh?
You really believe that? Oh, okay. I was just
somebody in the Hoyer family probably writing that. But
yeah, I meant to text you guys. Yesterday when the news broke about the rescheduling of the game. Well, actually Saturday. Can I change my pick? Like, can I officially change my pick on this game? Because I had the Patriots winning originally. Obviously, that was with a Cam Newton starting. So I want to know, like, can I officially change my pick?
Since the game hasn't played yet, we'll give you a mulligan.
Okay, good. Because I don't think the Patriots will win now at all.
We'll give you a mulligan.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. I mean, I think they could possibly keep it close, but without Cam Newton, I don't really give them a shot.
Now, what?
Yeah, their running backs. Yeah, their running back Sony Michel will be out for tonight's game, and I said on our last podcast that the Patriots need to run the ball. It looks like Rex Burkhead might get the majority of those carries now. I think the Patriots will play what they need to do and not turn the ball over. They should win this game going away. I don't think it's going to be as much as a blowout as people would think. I said between 10 and 15 points for the Chiefs.
Same here. I think the Chiefs will end up winning it.
What would happen if New England won? What would the sports people be saying tomorrow if New England won?
I think the narrative would be how much of a genius Bill Belichick is instead of the egg that the Chiefs and Andy Reid would lay at home. Because I think people like to give Bill Belichick a lot more credit than what he – don't get me wrong, he's a great coach. But I think, to answer your question directly, I think the narrative will be Bill Belichick and his quote-unquote genius more so than Andy Reid and the Chiefs just wetting the bed at home.
Yeah. I don't think they will, but –
yeah.
All right, what about Atlanta and the Packers? Devontae Adams did say he wasn't going to be able to play, but I guess he deleted the tweet. Maybe the coaches probably thought, don't tweet that out there. So, but it doesn't like
do not hit send.
Yeah. So, but even if he doesn't play, I don't think it's gonna matter. I think the Packers. Look, Aaron Rodgers will have other guys he can throw to, and I'm sure Aaron Jones will run around that Atlanta defense. So I have the Packers win. I'm gonna stick to that.
Yeah,
Lamont. Yeah, Lamont had to ask you a question about that game on our last podcast on Friday. You said this was going to be a high-scoring game. I think the total, you could look this up, Lakino, is 58 or 56. 58. So you still think it's going to go over that total tonight?
Yeah, I'm still taking the over on that game.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, taking the over on that game. It's going to be like a 30-29 or something like that.
I can see that.
What was that, Jason?
No, I was just saying I can actually see that. I can see the Falcons playing better and putting up points on the Packers. But I still want to pick them to win. I think that'll be a dramatic.
I picked them to win. I just picked the over. I picked Green Bay to win.
Right.
But they're going over that. It's 56.5. I think they're going over that.
Right. But listen, again, and this we're going to talk about the Green Bay organization a little bit here. I mean, they are thinner than me at the wide receiver position, man. It's ridiculous. Alan Lazard is out possibly for the rest of the season. They've just got it as an indefinite status right now. Obviously, Devontae Adams is banged up. I mean, they're getting down to their third, fourth, and fifth guys here at wide receiver. So this is an issue that the Green Bay Packers organization has not addressed in decades. They need wide receiver help.
They might be thick, but they're thicker than you at quarterback. So, so that's why they got a shot. They're going to always have a shot. Like, we will never have a shot until we get thicker than you at quarterback. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Going back to our duds, one more bonus dud before we close out this segment. At the end of that New York Giants Los Angeles Rams contest yesterday, where the Rams won 17-9, Jalen Ramsey started trouble with Golden Tate New York Giants wide receiver. They were in a scramble for a couple of minutes. I didn't know this until I was watching SportsCenter this morning. If I have this story right, if I don't, one of y'all please correct me. Jalen Ramsey shares 2 of his kids with Golden Tate's sister, so I guess they had some sort of family issue over the past year, and it boiled over in yesterday's game. Both of them, definitely Jalen Ramsey, they definitely both need knocked up upside the head. That was ridiculous what happened yesterday at the end of that game.
Yeah, I saw that. It was like definitely a bonus dud, couple of bonus duds. Come on, that wasn't necessary.
Yeah,
that's not cool. Not cool at all.
Exactly. Especially this year when you're trying to practice social distancing. That was not smart at all. One other quick question before we head out this segment. Lamont, did you catch any of the Seattle-Miami game yesterday? And so, what grade would you give Dick Stockton?
I didn't catch none of it. I had to do some stuff yesterday, so I had to get my mother on the plane. So I'm like the little kid in the movie right now. I'm home alone for 2 weeks. I don't know what to do.
Oh, gosh. Oh, Lord. All right. Now, on that note, we're going to take a bit of intermission here. We're going to talk about some of the other stuff that's going on. The MLB playoffs, unfortunately, both the Cubs and the White Sox are no longer in the playoffs. You got the NBA Finals. Jimmy Butler with a big performance last night, historical performance last night. Also, we'll talk college football studs and duds, and a whole lot more. So, stay with us for more Second City Sports Zoom style.
Zoom
style.
Zoom.
All right, and welcome back to segment 2 of Second City Sports Zoom style.
Zoom style.
All right, we're getting better at that. Once again, I'm Keenan McGee. You can follow me at Keenan McGee on Twitter and at Keenan_McGee on the Instagram.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Lamont Scott on Facebook, Lamont Scott 69 on Instagram, and Lamont Scott 16 on Twitter.
I am Jay Pfeiffer, and you can follow me at Truth and Reason _ on the Twitter, and you can follow our show's Twitter handle at 2NDCSCHI. Follow us, we follow back.
All right, we got a lot to get to this second hour, gentlemen. Start with the MLB playoffs. Unfortunately, both the Cubs and the White Sox went out with a whimper. So you guys want to do
one team more so than the other.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a tie there.
No, I beg to differ.
One team we expected to go out, but just not so quick.
All right, so what are y'all synopsis then? Finish up.
I mean, I kind of expected the White Sox inexperience to catch up with them eventually, and their coaching also. I expected some of that to come into play and catch up with them. And I just expected a little more out of the Cubs because they've been there, they got experience, they were at home, they were playing with the 8th seed, if you want to call it that. So, I mean, I expected a lot more out of the Cubs. They disappointed me, and they might have made it so they have to make a few shakeups on the north side going forward. So, I don't know, but they kind of followed the trend that they had all year long with their stars not showing up. Their stars just didn't show up this year. Maybe the season was too short. but they stars didn't show up, and that leaves a lot of questions with them because what do we do with Chris Bryant at this point going forward? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they got some decisions to make over on the north side, but congratulations still to that, but definitely. And with the White Sox, I mean, I think it's going to go back to their coaching. I think they may need to get that Ozzie Guillen back type person in there if it's not him himself. But they're going to have to make a couple of moves, and one of them will be keeping James McCann. I think they need to keep him, and when they don't use him as a catcher, use him as a DH. And, you know, we might can be right back in the mix and get another pitcher. We need a frontline starter. But, I mean, I'm looking bright. I mean, we got bright futures on both sides still, though.
Go ahead, Sid. I'm going last.
Yeah. As far as the White Sox are concerned, I don't know if James McCann will be used as a DH if they decide to bring him back. I know he's the personal catcher for Lucas Giolito, and so he does bring some value. But if he is brought back, he won't be used as a DH. You got Yasmani Grandal for that. To a lesser extent, if he's injured, Jose Abreu for that. I think that spot eventually will be filled by Eloy Jimenez if he doesn't improve his play in the outfield next year. Ricky Renteria, if it was up to me, I would bring Ozzie Guillen back instead of Ricky Renteria, but we all know how the White Sox operate. Technically, Renteria did earn this chance to manage a good team, as I said in our last podcast. All the expectations, I know the players embraced it this year, which is good, but next year the expectations get even higher. So the fans need to embrace that. The organization needs to embrace that some more. So all this, the kids can play, all this, oh, this is a feel-good team, all that kumbaya Walt Disney crap is out the window now. You're in the big leagues now, so it's time to grow up some more and have some expectations even higher for this team. As far as the Cubs are concerned, this trend, even though they missed the playoffs last year, this trend as far as playoff games and the lack of offense has continued. Remember 2 years ago, I know, Jason, not to rub it in, but 2 years ago, you lost to the Milwaukee Brewers for the NL Central Division title due to the lack of offense, and that game was at home. The NL wildcard game against Colorado the next night, lack of offense, you lose there. So you were out of the playoffs before you really set your foot in. This year, it happened again. You scored one run in Game 1 against the Miami Marlins. I believe you were shut out in Game 2, I believe. But the consistent theme here for the Cubs these last few years has been lack of offense. And with that being said, it looks like your run at 2017, trying to go back to the World Series, seems like a lifetime ago, but that's been the best playoff run following your World Series win in 2016. So for the Cubs, the lack of, as you pointed out, Lamont, the lack of superstars showing up during these big moments, which they were known for in 15 and 16, and to a lesser extent in 17, it hasn't happened the last few years. It is going to be a shake-up. The question is who stays and who goes.
Yeah, so that's why I say one team was more competitive and one team went with more of a whimper than the other one, Lakina. The White Sox were competitive. They even had a chance to maybe even steal a Game 3. They were kind of in that game. The Cubs weren't competitive. They haven't been competitive. And it's been this way for 5 years now, outside of 2016. It should be embarrassing, but if you heard the guys talk about it after the game, it didn't really seem to bother them. And I think that's been another part of why they've failed the past few years. They've seemed to rest on the laurels of 2016, and that was, like you said, Sydney, a lifetime ago. I mean, they were 0 for 12 in Game 2. I'm talking about the big three here, the quote-unquote big three in Javi Baez, Chris Bryant, and Anthony Rizzo. They were 0 for 12 in a closeout game, swinging and missing, not even really looking like they had a clue of how to take a professional at bat. That's what.
and he was throwing all fastballs. He was throwing 80% of that man pitches are fastballs. You knew that was coming.
And they're swinging through it. You're right, Lamont. And they were swinging through it throughout the whole series, just swinging and missing, whiffing throughout the whole series.
It's a shame Ian Happ and David Bowie was our leaders for the season, in a sense. Them was the MVPs right there. And Yu Darvish did his job. Mm-hmm.
Yep, not putting this on you, Darvish, at all. I thought he was going to pitch exactly the way he pitched in that game too. He was really, really good. This is once again on the lack of a Cubs offense. It was no surprise to me that Ian Happ and Jason Hayward made the most noise in the series because they were the ones that were making the most noise throughout this entire 60-game shortened season.
Yeah.
Baez, Rizzo, and Bryant struggled to hit above the Mendoza line the entire season.
The season.
You have got to perform better. There will be a shakeup somewhere, somehow. Kyle Schwarber, I love the guy. He's probably got to go. Jose Quintana, been injured this year, really didn't pitch. He's got an option coming up this year. He's probably not going to be back. Tyler Chatwood, probably not going to be back. Chris Bryant, folks, the divorce is already in the process. And I've
had 3 of them. So I'm good with divorces. I've had 3 of them, so we can.
Oh, God.
Well,
oh, Jesus Christ.
If you follow the Chris Bryant story the past 2-3 seasons, this is the most likely conclusion, guys. And for, whether it was, lack of a contract extension, inconsistencies, not reaching expectations really outside of one MVP year, I think it's time for Chris Bryant to look at other places. So there will be changes because there need to be changes. This team needs to be different next year.
It's interesting to see what direction it looks like. Maybe Theo Epstein might be back for one more year. They haven't had their meetings yet as of this recording, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I don't know what's going to be sort of the mindset. Are the Cubs going to try to go for it again, and maybe with this core, or are they going to start tearing it down? That's going to be like the big question for the White Sox. I mean, at this point, yes, the expectation next year is going to be higher. You need another pitcher, another starter, probably even a middle reliever, because that was that reared its ugly head in that third game against the A's. So I think for me, I think both teams will be dependent on what the front office is to decide. That's up to them. So this offseason for Chicago baseball is going to be very interesting.
Question for you 3 guys before we move on. And sorry to kind of go on my long soliloquy there. I apologize. But do you think the Cubs can still be competitive? This is strictly a Cubs question. We know what the White Sox are going to be, I believe, coming in the next season. Like everybody thinks, they're probably going to need another starter, Jose Quintana. I mean, I would look at those options. No, you laugh, Sid, but I think it's a really, really viable thing that they should look at. He is a perfect third starter. He is perfect. They've got Giolito. They've got Keuchel. If Quintana is there as your third starter, he is perfect in that role. He's absolutely perfect for it. So I think they need to look at that. But for the Cubs, do you even think they can even still be competitive going into next year, or has the window officially closed?
If they move him, if just mentioning that Quintana, even if they were to move him back over to the south side for like an Engel or somebody, they would have to get something that they can use, and the Cubs can still make a little run, but they got to tweak a couple of things, and they need they need an energy player. I mean, everybody you got there got a ring, so they chilling. We need some energy. We need an Adam Engel or somebody it was Javi Baez till he became a star, and now he mystify you up sometimes, but he used to be on team every game. Now every third game, he'll give you a play like that. But that man used to come out all 160, whatever he played, on 10. And I think they need to get some type of fire like that back in that clubhouse. And it means moving Quintana to the White Sox and getting somebody young back. So be it.
I think for the Cubs, you're not rebuilding, you're retooling. Here's why. One, because of the business side, you had that marquee network, which started this year. Of course, their games were shortened because of this pandemic, and of course with the shortened schedule. So they're not going to totally rebuild. Although if you look deep into it, they need to rebuild their minor league system. With that being said, I think there are going to be some tweaks. I think Javi Baez will stay. I'm 99.9% sure on that. Chris Bryant. He's going to get a long-term contract, but I don't know how much money he's going to get because the money did not come in for any of these teams this year due to COVID. So Chris Bryant will still get a big-time contract, but it's not going to be as much because, like I said, there were no fans in the stands this year, so that revenue is gone for 2020. Number 3, they got to revitalize their bullpen. Is Jeffers going to be your closer next year? Is Craig Campbell, I think he's going to go into next year in his 3rd and final year, I believe, in the Cubs uniform. Is he going to have a chance to regain that spot? Because he didn't look good this year. So you have to take a look at that there. And with the pitching rotation, you may have to say goodbye to John Lester if you don't bring him back on the quote-unquote team-friendly deal. Kyle Hendricks and Yu Darvish, they're safe for now. But as far as the rest of that starting rotation, you still have some work to do.
Yeah, I got to agree with all of you guys. I think they are going to retool, the Cubs are. I don't think, especially if this is going to be Theo's last go-around, I think they're going to try to win for him. They are going to have to probably make some tweaks, maybe try to bring in another starting pitcher, maybe bring in that energy guy, like you said, Lamont, to kind of like, kick the team in the butt and sort of like get their energy going, because I think they kind of been sort of lax. Not all of them, but I think some of them probably been lax, these last couple of years. So
Yeah.
it might be something that they think about doing. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, the offseason for both these teams are going to be very interesting. So let's preview right quick the teams that are still left in the playoffs. This is basically like all AL East, NL East, AL East, and NL East, basically. We'll start with a game tomorrow. They're such good friends in the AL West. You got Houston and Oakland. Where do you guys see this series?
That game's tomorrow? I thought it was today.
It's today.
Oh, okay. I thought you said tomorrow. Oh, sorry.
I might have said it. I might have misspoke. My bad.
Boy, I really do not like Carlos Correa. He's a hell of a player. He's a hell of a player. Don't get me wrong. But the Astros have rubbed everybody the wrong way. And I hope the Athletics blow the doors off of them in 3 games. I really hope they sweep them. I honestly don't think that's going to happen. But I think their mini run is over because of the ineptitude of the Minnesota Twins. I know we don't have time to get into them right now, but the Minnesota Twins are hot garbage. And Sydney, I gotta give it up to you, man. You watched the Twins firsthand, man. I can't. How do you lose 18 playoff games in a row? Okay. I get. It's not about the Twins. I get it, but I can't give the Astros much of a chance here. I just can't.
I'm like you, Jason. I just can't clap for Astro right now. Maybe I'm still stuck in the past or so, but I can't. I'm gonna be rooting so hard for Oakland. Like if Ricky Henderson and Reggie Jackson was on the field, I'm gonna be rooting for Oakland. I mean,
going on the Wayback Machine for that.
Man, that's how hard I'm gonna be rooting for them. Sal Bando. That's how bad I'm gonna be rooting for them. I mean, until Houston changed completely for me, like I need to look on that team and see 9 new faces that wasn't involved in none of it. I'm gonna probably feel the same way about them. So I'm rooting for Oakland regardless.
I got Oakland in 4 games because I think they're a well-balanced team. They did what they had to do to beat the Chicago White Sox, except for in Game 1, which they threw out a left-handed starter, which you should learn by now that you cannot pitch that White Sox team as a left-handed starter. So there you go. But outside of that, I think Oakland's a complete team. Houston, they did what they had to do against the overrated, bad starting pitching from the Twins, as I've been telling you guys all season long. You can't not bring just your offense during the playoffs. It's all about pitching, great starting pitching and defense, and Minnesota has not had that. That's why they have a current 18-game losing streak in the playoffs. So I have Oakland in that. Houston has to show me a little bit more. They've been up and down, as we've been saying all year. I think Oakland is the better team. That's why they won a division. They're going to take care of business in 4 games.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't see the A sort of letting this opportunity pass. I think Houston, you hate to say they got lucky, but Minnesota, there's a reason why they lost 18 in playoff games in a row for 18 straight. I'm just saying I don't think they've won a playoff game. Minnesota has, I think, since they last won the World Series back in '91. I might be mistaken about that. Or
Nope, you're right.
yeah, so yeah, it's been that long. So I just like the A's. They're balanced. I think people are going to see how good this A's team is. I just think that's it. All right, another series that starts. Oh, should be a good one here. In the AL East, you got the Yankees and the Rays.
I love this series. Woo-hoo.
Should be a fun one.
I just want to watch it. You know what I'm saying? I just want to watch it. I want to watch every game I can of that series because it's gonna be fun. And if the Monsters get knocked off their head, I'm okay with the Yankees losing. I really am because, you know, I'm just okay with it. I'm okay with the Yankees losing. So I'm gonna root real hard for the Yankees.
I think your game one starters tonight are Blake Snell for Tampa Bay and Garrett Cole for the Yankees. If Tampa Bay can steal game one, it's going to set the tone for that series. I think I said this on our last podcast on Friday. I expect this series to go to 5 games. I'm still holding out hope for that. That's my expectation. I think the Yankees will find some way to win, but it wouldn't surprise me if Tampa Bay won. Tampa Bay owned the Yankees this year, even though it's a shortened schedule. And, yes, everybody on the Yankees who's healthy now, they weren't healthy in the beginning of the season when Tampa was beating up on them. So I think the Yankees, this is their time to shine. You saw what they did in that 2-game sweep against Cleveland in that wild card series round. They better bring those bats, but most importantly, they better shore up that starting pitching after Garrett Cole, and their bullpen better step up because if it doesn't, they're going to be sent home early. I'm picking the Yankees as an expert to win in 5, but I'm rooting as a fan so hard for Tampa Bay. They don't get the credit that they deserve.
They better bring their gloves too, because they got to play some defense.
Yes.
That's what they better bring. I mean, like you said, I'm rooting for Tampa Bay. They got to bring their gloves. You got to bring their gloves.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, this is a series that we've all been looking forward to, I think. All of us have. Boy, I think it's a long series, but, man, it's kind of a toss-up. I agree with all of your sentiments, Lamont and Sydney. Love Tampa Bay. But I think the Yankees' bats are slightly better than the Tampa Bay Rays' bats. I think in 5 games, I think the Yankees will win it. But boy, I look forward to this being a long and really, really good series.
Yeah, I think, Sydney, I think you just said it a couple of minutes ago. The Yankees were not healthy during that time. The Rays were able to beat up on them. Now that everyone's healthy, if they can get the pitching together, both the starting and the relief pitching together, and they got the bats going, they're going to be tough to beat. Although, for the Rays are no pushovers. I'm going to say Yankees in 5 as well.
Okay. Real quick before you move on, Lakina, breaking news for that Oakland-Houston series. For game 1, Josh Reddick will start at DH, and Michael Brantley will be in your starting left fielder for game 1.
Okay, interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, let's go into NL now. You got the Marlins and Atlanta. I think the Braves will sweep it. I think that they have a bad taste in their mouth from the last playoff. They kind of had Atlanta's number, especially in the last couple of meetings. I think the Braves are just too much. Like Freddie Freeman, if the pitching is good, if Freddie Freeman does his thing and all the other batters do their thing, Max Fried starts tomorrow, I should say, tomorrow afternoon. So if he has his good stuff, I think the Braves will probably win this series, and I think they'll do what the Cubs should have done to the Marlins and sweep them. Sorry, Jason.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think this is a sweep. I don't think this series is very competitive. Again, the Marlins aren't pitching to the Chicago Cubs. The Braves have in a legit Major League Baseball offense. I mean, that's just what there's no other way to put it. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Lamont. They're going to hit those fastballs. They're not going to swing through them or watch them go right down the middle of the plate for a called strike 3. They're going to smash those fastballs. And Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna Jr., too much. Going to be too much for the Marlins.
Sweet. I'm going with a sweet.
I'll be that meatball to give the Marlins just one game, but the Braves are a better team. They'll take care of the series in 4.
Oh, well, that was quick. All right. And the other divisional series should be a fun one there and all. In a West matchup, you got the Padres and the Dodgers. Who wants to start this one off?
Me.
All right. Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
You guys know where I'm going with this. The Padres are going to beat the Dodgers. They're going to beat the Dodgers. They're going to beat them. And I think they're going to beat them in 5 games and break their heart like typical in Dodgers fashion. Like I think the Dodgers are going to go up 2-0 and then lose the next 3. I'm picking the Padres. I am, and I'm sticking with it. These two teams know each other. The Padres played the Dodgers well, even though I think the Dodgers won the majority of the games. I have to look it back up. I saw it earlier. But they played them well. They've got energy. They're hungry. I think they're going to win this series. Again, I think they're going to break Dodgers fans' hearts in typical Dodgers fans fashion. One big key, the other big keys here, Clevenger is probably going to be back. He's probably going to be back for this series, if probably in game 2 or 3. So depending on what game that is, I like the Padres' chances a lot. The bats woke up. Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., you guys know how I feel about him. Been raving about him for years now. He is probably one of the new faces of baseball, if not already. Listen, they've got a veteran presence and a guy like Eric Hosmer who knows how to get it done in playoff time. Will Myers is a stud. He looks like he chops wood for a living. I mean, the guy is just their offense is something else. I can't wait to see this. I can't wait for it. I'm picking the Padres in 5.
I'm on that train, man. I look for the Dodgers to be like a pipe with pressure, as always. They will bust. And the thing that's going to bust them this year will be those bats of San Diego. They, like you say, when they woke up, led by Fernando, that is a superstar right there. And that team goes how he goes. And when he took off, they took off. And I think they're going to continue to take off. Now, don't get me wrong. Mookie Betts going to be Mookie Betts. I mean, it's obvious he that man. He going to be that man. But the Dodgers, I don't think they can hold up under pressure until they show me that they can. They can keep their $1 billion budget. And we're going to see what happens.
I'm going with the Dodgers in 4. I think San Diego will bring it. Let's not forget, guys, we talk about Fernando Tatis Jr., which I told you guys all season long. He's one of my top two candidates for MVP, along with Mookie Betts. Now, for the Dodgers, this is Mookie Betts' time. He needs to bring it, even though he has that contract extension he signed prior to the season. He's a Dodger for life, but he needs to bring it. And I think also Justin Turner, your third baseman, needs to bring it as well. And also the closer, Kenley Jansen, can he hold on to that spot during the playoffs? It's going to be a real question. Those are the 3 keys I'm looking at for the Dodgers. For the Padres, like you guys mentioned, Fernando Tatis Jr., he was big in that wild card series upset series win over St. Louis. Can he continue to stay hot? And also Manny Machado, the more eyes are going to be on him. Now, this will be his first division series. And this is his first go around in the playoffs. I think it's his first go. Well, it's his first as it's his first as San Diego Padres.
San Diego, yeah. I think he went like a couple of times.
Padres, so I want to see what he does, especially signing that contract before last season. So I got the Dodgers in 4.
Right.
You want to say something, Lamont?
Right quick. Manny Machado owed the Dodgers a little something. He gonna be mad at the Dodgers. He gonna be coming for the Dodgers' head. I look forward to seeing that matchup. He's coming for their head.
I have the Dodgers in 4 here. This is gonna be a fun series. I just think that the experience, the whole team, they're on a mission. Look, don't be surprised if we have like 10-9, 8-7, those type of matchups. Walker Buehler, I think, is starting game 1. I'm not that there's no they haven't said who's going to start for the Dodgers yet, but I mean for the Padres, I should say. But yeah, I think. Look, I think the Dodgers are going to say, look, we know the pressure's going to be on them, and I think, look, Mookie Betts, he wants to have that big contract. He's going to take them by the hand, and he say, look, I'll lead you guys back to the NLCS. Go ahead, Jason.
That's a lot of weight.
Well, I you know what I was gonna say also as well. I think he will probably be the difference maker. Mookie Betts will, if the Dodgers win. I think it'll be a Mookie Betts type of show. He's certainly got the capabilities to do it, and he can be a difference maker. But man, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think it's gonna be a long series. You guys are saying Dodgers in 4. I don't know. we're all making kind of guesses here, right? So, I mean, but man, I just think I don't see this being a 4-game series. I think it's going 5 either way.
That's the fun part, right? We get to make predictions.
Yep.
All right, let's go to the hardwood. You got the NBA Finals. The Heat cut into that 2-game series, and Lee is now 2-1 Lakers. Jimmy Butler probably had one of the best performances, single-game performances. It's up there in finals history. What do you guys think? Do you think the Heat will be able to, cut into this lead even more and tie it, or do you guys think the Lakers will get back on track and perhaps pull away?
I think that the Lakers will get back on track and take Game 4. Even though I did have the Lakers in 6, Miami had a great performance in Game 3 last night, like you mentioned. Looking at Jimmy Butler leading the way, even though half his starting mates were out in terms of Adebayo and Gordon Dragic. Kendrick Nunn had some key plays as well last night. I want to focus in on the Lakers for a minute. LeBron James was the only player to score over 20-plus points. He had 25. Kyle Kuzma, finally, he showed up. He had 19 points, but Anthony Davis with 15 points, even though his shooting stats look great, I'm kind of disappointed in him. He really disappeared, especially in that second half. So that's something that they got to correct. Anthony Davis needs to bring it in Game 4 tomorrow night. He needs to play all out for all 4 quarters.
You remember we talked the other day on Friday. I think I mentioned it to you all that if Kendrick Nunn showed up, he could be a problem and he could make some form of a difference going forward. Have they figured something out to beat on the Lakers? I mean, if you go on heart alone, Miami will win the series. And like you said, Sid, Anthony Davis needs to show up for them to win the series. They can't win it with just LeBron trying to be LeBron against the whole Heat team. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it, even though I thought the Lakers should walk through it with a gentleman's sweep, as Jason put it. But if the Lakers continue to take Miami for granted and continue to think that they're not going to show up and play hard, they will lose a couple games and have to make it harder than what it should have been.
I haven't really moved from my predictions at all. I said this is going to be a 5-game series. It's still on track to be so. I don't think Anthony Davis will play like he did the rest of the series. And again, I mentioned this last week. If the Lakers win, the narrative is going to be about LeBron, and he is not the most important player on this team. It's Anthony Davis, and if Anthony Davis doesn't play well, it doesn't matter what LeBron does. The Lakers' chances of winning are significantly reduced. I saw the stat, and I apologize for getting it wrong here or maybe getting a little mixed up, but there's only 3 players in NBA history that have had a 40-point triple-double. It's Jimmy Butler, LeBron James, and I believe the other guy was Jerry West. I can't remember who that other guy was, but I believe it's Jerry West. Yeah. So, you give it to Jimmy Butler for an incredible effort, but it's just 1 game.
Yeah.
That's why I think the Lakers will get back will right the ship and pull away from this series. I think I just think that this was one game, and AD didn't have his best game. You kind of figure you could afford to do that at this point. I'm sure he's going to get right back into it. Welcome to the NBA Finals, Kyle Kuzma. I mean, there was this sort of petition that said he shouldn't get a ring, but that's we won't get into that. But because he hasn't really showed up much in this bubble. But look, it was a great performance by Jimmy Butler. I mean, I think this is the second time, thanks to Shaq, that he got 40 points in the finals out attempting a 3. But, it happened. They had an off night, and the Lakers did. I think the Lakers will get back on it tomorrow, and they'll be able to, I think they'll pull out Game 4. Because I don't think they want to give the Heat any confidence going into what could be a clinching Game 5. So.
And then they might get some. They might get some of their guys back if they go to a Game 5 too. So you probably don't want to go that far with them.
For the Heat, shout out to Tyler Hero. He scored 17 big points in Game 3. Also, Duncan Robinson chipped in with 13. So hopefully those guys will continue to step up, and the Heat wants to extend this series even further.
Yeah,
All right.
sorry, but
No,
we
go
got
ahead,
to
Jason.
keep an eye on the status of Adebayo and Dragic. Dragic is probably not going to be back. That injury looked really severe.
Yeah.
Got to keep an eye on Adebayo. I mean, I know that shoulder surgery. He's sort of dealt with that on and off this season as well. So, I mean, again, great Herculean performance by Jimmy Butler, but I mean, it's probably going to be it.
Yeah.
It should be. It should be it. I mean, when you're in situations like that, and you the superior talent like that, they supposed to walk through there and smash Miami. I mean, Hart can only last you so long. They supposed to beat them, but it will be led by Anthony Davis. And if Anthony Davis don't show up, they won't beat him.
Yeah. You guys are absolutely right. So should be a fun one. Should be a fun one tomorrow night. College football, week 5. Okay, the Pac-12 have released their schedule. What have you guys got a chance to look at it? What do you guys think if you have?
I didn't look at a complete schedule yet. I think I seen the Arizona State USC game or something coming up. I think they had it marked late October. I think they had it. I mean, I want to see what happens with that. And other college football, I mean, I just think it's going to be a mess when they try to pick which teams to put where at the end of the season. I think with all these abbreviated schedules and these late come-ins and these late go-bys, it's just going to be a mess in about 2 months with them trying to figure all that stuff out, though. And KJ Costello is human.
Yeah.
What a letdown. What a letdown against Arkansas.
He is human. He's definitely human. So that was good to find out that he's human. And the other things, I think the thing for college football this year should be reality, because a lot of teams going to have to face a lot of different realities. You know, the Oklahomas and the LSUs and a lot of that SEC going to have to face a lot of different realities. And I think the theme of college football should be reality this year. And it's going to make for some interesting games down the way. And a few teams going to take some heartbreaking losses and a bunch of changes might be made. But
speaking of reality, Lamont, I didn't catch much college football this weekend, but I did check out 2 minutes of that Texas A&M Alabama game, and CBS had that Goodyear blimp over the head shot. As we said before about the crowds, I won't get into it too much here on this episode, but you could tell that social distancing was required because those fans were spread out. Normally, especially as we talked about it before, college football in the South is like a religion. And that stadium in Alabama in Tuscaloosa was at, I'll say, my guess is at least 20% capacity. I said, when we get back to normal, hopefully, which I think will be sooner rather than later, when you start college football next season, that's going to be close to full again. I said to myself, take a look at this, because you'll probably never see anything like this ever again in terms of crowds, especially down south for college football. Because you know as well as I do, Lamont, folks down there love their college football, and that stadium was not close to being full. So I said, once we get back to some type of normalcy, you're not going to see that ever again.
They was real loud at that Kentucky game too. They fans was deep. They was making some noise at that Kentucky game, and I mean, I think they're gonna have to do a little something with that. So I mean, I look forward to seeing how the Big Ten games will look. That should be interesting.
Yeah.
Who's gonna have crowds? Who's not?
Right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But no, just to get back to sort of the Pac-12, definitely looking forward to. I was looking at the schedule, Lakina. USC and Arizona State. I think Lamont or Sid mentioned it. Jaden Daniels, Keaton Slovis, two of the best young quarterbacks in the Pac-12. I've seen Jaden Daniels. I've seen some video on him. He came across my Twitter timeline actually a few months ago. He's really good. So, looking forward to see what Herm Edwards and a really good quarterback can do in Arizona State. Is Oregon going to remain at the top of the Pac-12? We'll see. They've got a really good team, and I actually think they're bringing back a top 3 class coming in the next season. I think if I saw that right, I could be wrong. But 7 games in 7 weeks, Lakina, is it going to work?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. Is it good? Are there going to be issues? Maybe 'cause I know the West Coast, they have things going on with not only COVID, but now you got the wildfires going on in some of these areas. I mean, air quality, will that be an issue too? So, I mean, USC, UCLA. I mean, December 12th. That's always like a big rivalry game for me. So that's always a fun thing to watch, no matter what the record. USC, Utah. We'll see where both these teams are. That's on the 21st of November. And the championship game will be a week before Christmas, so that'll be an interesting thing while you're shopping. Well, online, I'm sure, presumably. So,
they still gonna have Black Friday. People gonna still be out there 100 deep fighting to get in Walmart.
wear a mask, I guess.
Telling you what, I told y'all now. People still gonna be out there social. What? They gonna be like distance who? I need my cell. They gonna still be out there.
Yeah, stealing items that they cannot afford.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the sad part. On the field, though, right now, Georgia. Georgia looks really good. Stetson Bennett. That definitely sounds like an SEC QB name, right? He didn't have touchdowns, but he had 1 touchdown, passed 240 yards. He's very kind of reminds me, with one of the Manning brothers and his demeanor. So there, Zamir White had 2 touchdown runs. The defense dominated Auburn. I mean, they had 3 sacks. The defense did. So I'm thinking this Georgia team might be for real. We'll see, but I don't know. And also
speaking of Georgia,
for Florida, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He had 22 receiving, 22 rushing yards. Only that, but he looks really good. So I think they may have finally found their quarterback.
You were speaking of Georgia. Just a quick sidebar with Georgia. Their kicker, was that the kicker for Indianapolis yesterday? Rico Blankenship. That's who was kicking for Indianapolis yesterday.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was 90 for 90 down there.
Yep.
And we didn't draft him. I just.
I don't think Jason started.
I'm just saying.
I know you. Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Don't get Jason started on that.
No, I'm sorry. I just happened to notice that.
No, I get it. I know. I understand.
How we missed that?
A lot of things the Bears organization have missed. A lot. We can go. There's a long list, a ticker tape list. But I digress.
Did y'all watch the Jacksonville Florida State game?
I think Florida State might have found their quarterback. I think they finally found him. Finally.
Yeah, finally. But they was looking real bad at first, though. I was getting nervous at first. But then they made a tweak of something, and they found their quarterback then.
Yeah, he looked really good. I mean, didn't throw any interceptions, so that's he rushed for 48 yards, passed for 210 and a touchdown. So yeah, I think they might have found their quarterback in Jordan Travis finally.
Yeah, finally.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jason.
Couple more observations. I don't know if Sid wanted to jump in, but I had a few more. Listen, where is the defense in the Big 12? Where is it? Where
It's
is
in the
it?
Big
You know better than that, Jason. There's no defense
Come on,
in the Big
Jason.
12.
You watched the Big 10 for you, Big 12 for years. You know what defense? What's that? Defense? What's that?
Lakina, we talked about this for a few seasons now. You know how I feel about the University of Texas. If they had any semblance of a defense, they'd be competing for national championships year in and year out.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give TCU credit, though. I think they're good. I think Max Duggan is pretty good. But come on, you gotta be able to stop somebody. They've got a national championship offense. They do. They have it. But their defense is deplorable. They've got to be able to stop somebody. Otherwise, they're going to have another 8-4, 9-3 disappointing season.
They got a division defense.
Defense is required in the Big 12, Jason. You know this.
I know. It's so, but that's the thing. Texas has had good teams. Okay, we have to go back a couple of decades now, I guess, right? But Texas had really good teams with really good defenses in the past.
Yeah, hook 'em. Yeah.
You would also think being in that those defensive studs there, but apparently not.
I don't know. I mean, I wish. Look, if I had an answer to that, I don't. I don't know. I'd probably be a millionaire if I had an answer to that. But I mean,
What?
excuse me. I think. Oh, look, OKC looked really good again. I know it was Kansas. I know. I know it was Kansas. I know. But Chuba Hubbard had 145 rush yards and ran for 2 touchdowns. Their defense actually did look too bad. I know it was Kansas. I know what you're gonna say, Jason. It was Kansas, but they looked really good. I gotta say, OKC looked really good. Just saying.
I mentioned this Friday. Tennessee, man. We was calling for Tennessee head. And Tennessee, you think they real? You think they want to make some noise?
Well, I tell you what, their defense looks really, really good. And their defense has actually looked good the past couple of seasons. We'll see. It looks like that SEC East is going to be really, really, really tough, man. I mean, they've got Florida on the schedule. They've got Kentucky. They've got Georgia.
They play Georgia Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah. So, we'll see. But, I mean, I definitely like the way their defense looks for sure.
I'm just glad they bounced back, man. I'm glad, they got a reason to put the Tennessee shirt on again.
I agree, because we talked about Tennessee the past few years. When Tennessee's good, the entire SEC is good. I mean, I know they don't necessarily need Tennessee to be good to be a great conference, but Tennessee is one of the, those old-time stalwarts of good SEC, teams and conferences. So when they're good, it just doesn't happen.
You used to seeing that checkered end zone in important games.
Yeah.
Oklahoma. What the heck's wrong with Oklahoma? I don't know what to – I mean, I don't want to take anything away from K-State. I think they just signed their head coach to an extension probably because of that win against Oklahoma. But what the hell? I mean, come on. There are already people down in Norman that are asking for Lincoln Riley's head. So I don't – look, I don't know, but –
He's trying to give him his head. I mean, maybe it's recruiting. Right?
Listen, I think Oklahoma's going to be all right. They're another team that always loses a game like this throughout the season. Like they usually lose a game like this at some point. Oklahoma usually never goes undefeated. They always lose a game that makes you scratch your head and be like, really? You lost to that team? So, but I think they'll be okay. But again, sounding like a broken, no defense.
But Chris Kyleman from K-State's done a great job. They just signed him to a new contract, so we'll see. I mean, it's just like I've been saying, it'll be interesting to see what the college football playoff, what that does. I mean, you get all these conferences are going to be starting late. You got guys opting back in when they opted out, so now everything's sort of all free for all and. This is their chance to sort of expand the playoff. They didn't. I don't understand why they didn't, but I mean, this is going to be one of those instances where we'll probably this whoever wins, unless it's like Clemson or Alabama, this will probably end up being an asterisk.
Yep.
Like it used to be when 2 teams used to win it back in the day. They used to split. Yeah.
It might end up happening. Split national championships. Maybe 3 or 4, I guess.
Boy, I tell you what.
We don't want to see those days again. No.
Yeah, those were brutal. Those days were brutal. We're all over to remember those days. Oh, those days were brutal.
I just want to caution Trevor Lawrence. He better hope and pray the Jets don't have the number 1 pick next year. He better hope and pray the Jets don't have the number 1 pick next year.
See, you know what?
I just want to throw that out there for him, for his benefit.
Jason, you just made an ugly situation. Man, I just had a horrible fantasy just now. If they do have it, that'll open up Sam Darnold to come to the Bears.
Oh, Lord. Don't you put that out there because you know.
Don't do that, Lamont. Do not do that.
Lamont. Don't put that out there because you know. You know.
That is funny.
They
do not put that out there.
I better be quiet. Yeah, they watch the show, so I better be quiet.
Yeah, don't you put that out there. All right, real quick, French Open. Hopefully, on the men's side, I'm hoping that we get a Nadal Djokovic final because we need that. We earned that on the men's side.
Yep.
On the women's side, it looks like we're not going to have a lot of big names, so Well, Sophia Kennedy actually just won her match. She came back and won, and she was down a set, but actually came back and won. So if you're NBC, you're hoping that she wins. So because if not, no one's gonna watch the women's final. So you better hope that she gets into the finals, and it's wide open now for her. So we'll be cheering for her and hope she can get that second Grand Slam of the year.
Yeah, let's hope so. Again, like you said, the top seeds are dropping like flies in the French Open on the women's side. So, let's hope Sophia Kenin can get there. Boy, I mean, I don't want to make this about Serena. She obviously kind of went out a little early, but man, it doesn't look good, Lakina. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. I mean, the injuries are starting to pile up a little bit. I mean, we've talked about this already. It's not looking good. I want her to get that 24, but it's just the chances are getting slimmer and slimmer by the tournament.
She's only a couple months. Like I said, she only is a couple months older than me. So you can figure out how old I am. So yeah, Fox has undefeated. So what? I'm just saying. I'm not trying to be mean here. I would say that Father Time's undefeated. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm not even at Lamont's answer to your age.
Oh yeah. You better not say a word, Lamont. That's all I'm gonna say.
I said 27.
Yeah, I wish. I wish. I'm sure Serena wishes she was 27 again too. She still dominates at 27. I'm sure I think she did it at one point. So, okay, any other things that are on your minds before we disperse?
Nope, not for me. Except we talked about it already, but I'm looking forward to this AL West Divisional Series getting started, especially with the Astros and the Athletics. These two teams don't like each other, so let's play some ball.
And when baseball, with our teams being out of it, I've been catching up more on my regular television shows. Power's back. So I've been into that. Lovecraft Country. I'm telling y'all, watch Lovecraft Country.
Yeah, you've been pushing it, Lamont. You've been pushing it.
You're on your own on that one, Lamont. So I'm just saying.
You ain't tried it out, Lakina?
No, I'm not interested. I saw the previews. I'm not interested.
It's probably going to be something I'll have to binge. I'm kind of on the fringe with it right now. It's right up my alley with some of the supernatural stuff, but I think I might just have to catch it on a binge type of thing.
So they about to end it. There's only 2 episodes left.
Okay.
What about you, Sid?
I'm looking forward to baseball playoffs resuming today. Of course, Yankees and Rays. I'm definitely looking forward to that. As a fan, they better go 5 games. I'll be cheering hard for the Rays. And, of course, this Bears Buccaneers game on Thursday in front of a national audience on Fox. We'll see what the Bears are made of. On our next podcast, we'll give you our Cisco and Ebert thoughts of that game. Hopefully, it'll be a Bears win. But as 2020 goes, anything and everything can happen. So surprises may happen on Thursday, but we shall see.
We might have to apologize to our Fox viewers.
Both games tonight on TV?
Yeah. Yep.
What, one early, late?
Yeah.
So yeah, the Patriots and Chiefs, I believe that's at 6:00. That'll be on CBS for the folks that don't know, and I believe at 7:30 is the ESPN Monday night game with the Packers and the Titans. Packers and the Saints.
Yeah, I think like 7. I think it's like 7.
Packers and Falcons 7:50.
Yeah.
7:50. Yeah, 7:50. Yeah, because I think they moved the game back.
Central Standard Time.
Yeah. They moved the game back for that reason because I guess they didn't want to kind of like intertwine with because I guess they figured that more people probably watched Patriots, Chiefs than the Falcons and the Packers. That's probably why they did that. They probably did that intentionally. So we'll see if it's a blowout right away, that top game, people might flock on to ESPN. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and definitely.
And I'm looking forward to these 2 Monday night games tonight. The NBA Finals. We'll see where the Heat, when the Lakers. I'm sure they'll get it together. And also the French Open. Like I said, Nadal, Djokovic. NBC's cheering for that men's final. Let's go. I'm sure they're cheering for that. Also, we'll talk more on Friday's pod, but college football, there's a lot of big games this weekend, so lots to look forward to. And also, we will also recap Bucks and Bears. So on that note, sorry for the weird switch around for we're going to be watching this on YouTube, but I want to give a different wasn't for the curtains here, but if you follow me at Keena McGee on Twitter, at Keena_McGee on the Instagram.
You can follow me at Lamont Scott on Facebook, Lamont Scott 69 on Instagram, and Lamont Scott 16 on Twitter.
Jason?
Yeah, you can follow me at Truth and Reason _ on the Twitter. And like I said, you can also follow the show's Twitter handle at 2NDCSCHI. Follow us, we follow back.
You can follow me, Sid the Kid, on Twitter and Instagram at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. You can follow this podcast, Second City Sports, part of the War Media Network, at War on Anchor, which kicks you over to Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. Wherever you download your podcast, make sure you download War on Anchor. This program, Second City Sports, is part of that, along with In the Scope with Josh Hicks, That Davis Show, The Flip with Davis and Friends, and Kyle Means' program. We're all right there at War Media. Also, War on Anchor, I should say. We're also on YouTube, War Media. That's WARR Media. Just type that in your search engine box. You can find us there on YouTube. You can see our lovely faces. And don't forget to download the iHeartRadio app and type in the search engine box, War on Anchor. You can access our podcast through there as well.
Oh, also, a special note, though, Ryan Matumbo's son, Dikembe, is going to follow his dad's footsteps and go into Georgetown. So I don't know if he does a finger wave like his dad, but we'll see. But they say he can. But he's a top 20. He's in the top 20. So everybody, people say that he can ball like him. So he's not as big as his dad, but we'll see. Yeah, show you a good one there with Patrick Ewing. So for the guys, I'm Lakina. You guys stay safe. Wash your hands and keep your distance. Unlike some people lately. This is Second City Sports Zoom style, and we'll see you Friday.
Zoom style.
Zoom.
Till next time, holla.